I love this theatre, and actually the Running Man has never played in this theatre, and you're going to hear it in amazing Dolby Atmos tonight, so thank you for that. And this is to promote the Blu-ray release, and I got to give a little shout out to a couple of people in the audience, Cindy Cutter and Keith Clarks from the Home Entertainment Division who worked on, because it's not a given these days. I like to believe in physical media. It's not a given these days to have tons of extras. There's 2 hours of extras on the disc and a DVD commentary. And so I want to say thank you to them for sort of supporting that, because it doesn't always happen in this day and age. Some films don't even get a disc release anymore. So I'm really proud of if you bought one today, you're going to have a lot of fun watching all the extras. Also, the saying about it being in Dolby Atmos, our amazing sound mixer and editor Julian Slater is in the house as well. Oscar nominee for David Brown. Just because I was in the line, so who here has not seen the film before? Okay. Well, thank you for coming. I don't judge you for not being there earlier. The point is you're here now. And you're going to see it on this screen, and you're going to see it in Dolby Atmos, so enjoy. And then who has seen the 1987 version? And then who here has read the Richard Bachman book? And who here has done both of those things? So you know, if you've read the book and seen the 1987 film, they are two very different things. And one of the reasons that I wanted to do this, not only am I a huge Stephen King fan, but I had actually, that film came out in 1988 in the UK, and it was an 18, and I was 14 at the time, so I didn't see it. By the time I saw it on VHS, I had read the Richard Bachman book, because it was released under Stephen King's pseudonym. So it was probably the first time that I saw a film at the cinema and knew that it bore no resemblance to the novel whatsoever. So, you know, what you see tonight is something that's much closer to the original novel, and, you know, one of the joys of it was getting to work with Stephen King on it. Now, even though it is definitely not a remake of the 1987 film, there is, as you'll discover, and some of you have seen it before, somebody said they've seen it 4 times at the cinema, thank that person. You. There is a nod to the Ben Richards of the 1987 film, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he was very kind, because his image is in the film, so you have to get photo approval. So during prep, I sent a really nice letter to him. He said yes. And then as we were getting closer to production, Glenn, you know, had been in a film with Arnold before. Glenn is in Expendables 3. And he's friends with Patrick Schwarzenegger. And Glenn said to me, do you think we should call Arnold? And I was thinking exactly the same thing, because he's been so generous to us. And it's just a nice thing to do. And you can't retroactively get somebody's blessing. You can't start shooting the film and then after it's done saying, hey, we have your blessing. So a couple of days before we started shooting, we were actually watching a film at my flat in London. Me and Glenn were watching Sam Peckinpah's The Getaway. And he got a missed call from Patrick Schwarzenegger, and he goes, oh shit. So like picks up, and then Patrick says, oh, I'll just patch in Dad. And I'm like, and then, on FaceTime, me and Glenn, there's a photo of this, I put it on my Instagram. Schwarzenegger zooms in. And the first thing he says, he's obviously met Glenn before, he hasn't met me before. The first thing he said, he goes, oh, you have a gap in your teeth. And I was immediately very insecure that Mr. Universe is picking on me. And he said, when I first came to Hollywood, I had a gap in my teeth. And later, I had the gap fixed. And I said, oh, Arnold, I haven't had mine fixed yet. And he goes, no, don't do it. The gap is good luck. When I got the gap fixed, my box office went down. That was the start of the conversation. Anyway, I gotta say, he's been so, we showed him the movie and he loved it. He was been so kind and generous and held his own screening on Veterans Day for it. It's really incredibly kind, especially since the film is a very different version of it. So thanks to Arnold. And then obviously the other person, you know, to make this film and to have a connection with him, but also with Stephen King himself. Now, I have been, I would say, pen pals with him since Shaun of the Dead. He was extremely kind in 2004 to give us a print quote, when we used to have newspaper outlets, for Shaun of the Dead. And me and Simon Pegg just blew our mind that there was a quote from Stephen King. And over the years, I sort of kept in kind of email contact with him, especially around the time of Baby Driver. And actually, I didn't really get in contact with him about this until we were very close to making it, because he had script approvals, right, for the adaptation. But I didn't want to talk to him before it was definitely happening, because the idea of being the boy who cried wolf and talking to him then it not happening would have been too heartbreaking. So I did eventually, he read the script and he loved what me and Michael McCall had done with the adaptation. And he changed the ending for the book, and he liked the fact that we'd done that, because there were obviously, if you read the book, you know there were some real life parallels of why we wanted to do something different. And Stephen King was really behind that. But this was all like by email. The first time I spoke to him on the phone was after he'd watched the first cut of the movie. I spoke to him on the phone, and then as it was getting closer to the release, I sort of said, can I come? I was doing New York Comic Con. I said, can I come to Maine and meet you? I can fly to Bangor. He goes, I actually live in Bangor anymore. I live so much, but I'll be in Bangor that weekend. If you really come to Maine? And I was like, of course, are you kidding? Like, with a chance to meet Stephen King before it comes out. So me and my other half flew to Bangor, and he's recommended a hotel for us. He booked a table for dinner, and then he said, when you land, come to this address. And I hadn't quite put two and two together what the address was. I thought maybe the address was the restaurant, and then I figured out, oh, that's his house. And if you've ever seen Stephen King's old house on Instagram, it looks like it should be Stephen King's house. It kind of looks like the Addams Family house. And this was right around Halloween. So we're getting to Bangor Airport, and a taxi driver picks us up, and he's taking us to the hotel. So we go to a hotel, drop our bags, go to Stephen King's house. And getting to the taxi driver, he goes, first time in Maine? And I was like, oh, I've been to Portland before, but I've never been to Bangor. And he goes, oh, well, if you've never been to Bangor, I'll drive you past Stephen King's house. He obviously does this to everybody. So we're in the back, and as he's driving us up, he goes, what are you doing in Bangor? And I was like, oh, we're having dinner with a friend. And I wasn't going to tell him that we were meeting Stephen King, because I've seen Misery. And so we actually go outside the house, and we go outside the house, and then we're like, oh, right, and then we go to the hotel, and then we get a different Uber to come back to the house. And also, because it's Halloween, there's tons of people outside all taking selfies, because obviously, if it's Halloween in Bangor, where are you going to take a selfie? It's outside Stephen King's house. And so I kind of thinking, well, how do we get in? There's so many people outside. So I actually text him and say, hey, is there anything I should know about security? And he goes, no, just walk straight up the drive. And I'm like, okay. And then we come back, there's still loads of people outside. And then I'm like, he said just to walk up the drive. So we start walking up the drive. And immediately as soon as we do, a security guard goes, you guys are going to want to turn around. And I said, oh, no, he's expecting us. He goes, who's expecting you? And I said, Stephen King? And then Stephen King comes out and he goes, Edgar Jr., come in. And then all the people take selfies are like, what the fuck? Anyway, so there was it was a real dream. I started reading Stephen King books when I was at exactly the right age, which is too young. So to actually have meet the man and sort of, he loves the film, and so that means a lot to me. And also I'm a huge fan of not just the books, but a lot of the Stephen King film adaptations, some of my favorite films. So it was a joy to do this film. I'm really proud of it, and I'm really glad that you're here tonight to see it on this amazing screen with really great sound. And then I will be back with Guillermo del Toro to talk about the movie. So please enjoy. Whether it's your first time or like this guy's fifth time, please enjoy The Running Man. I'll be back later. Thanks.